For as long as I can remember, I've been obsessed with movies. My earliest memory of watching a film would have been when I was very, very small. And maybe 3 or 4. I probably saw other movies, but this is my earliest memory of watching a film. I was born in 1983. That makes me 40 years old. Well, it made me 40 years old last year. I'll be 41 in September, which means I'm getting old. So, when I was a kid, I was brought up in a house where both my parents were huge fans of films. So my mum was a massive fan of science fiction, and she loved westerns, and that love was transferred to me, that genre side of cinema. My dad was a big fan of like the 1930s and 40s musicals. He was born in 1947. He grew up at a time when there was still the studio system and contract players, so he was brought up on films with like Fred Astaire and Cary Grant and Spencer Tracy and people like that. And when I was a kid, he used to basically watch all these musicals, all these Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff, like South Pacific and Oklahoma and stuff like that. Those big, huge studio not science fiction, what we're talking about. Those big, huge musical things, like the Busby Berkeley, like 42nd Street. That's the stuff that I grew up on. Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain is one of my all-time favourite films. It's one of the type of films that I remember seeing as a kid and really, really, really just enjoying the hell out of it, because it had everything. It had music, it had action, it had romance, it had comedy, it had drama. It had everything. Singing in the Rain is to me, it's essentially a perfect film. It is one of the only musicals that I own in my collection, because it's a film that every time I watch, I have fond memories of sitting down with my dad and watching it. Same with things like my mum would show us movies. More specifically me. My sister wasn't so massively into films. My brother does love movies, but I'm more of the nerd, the cinema nerd of the 3 kids. So there was a few films that I was brought up on. So like Singing in the Rain, the Journey to the Centre of the Earth, which is the 1959 James Mason version. I watched this over and over and over again as a kid. Same with the George Pal Time Machine. So my mum would introduce me to the science fiction aspect of cinema, because that's what she loved as a kid. She loved Doctor Who and stuff like that. But those are memories that I have as a bit of an older kid. Between, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, that's when your brain starts to develop and you remember certain things. So there might have been films that I watched when I was younger than 7 or 8 that I probably can't remember, because at that age, your brain, it takes stuff in. You'll watch it and then you'll see a stone outside which looks like it's got a face drawn on it, and that's all you can think about, the stone with a face on it, which is a good name for a film, be a bit of a weird film. But back to what I was saying. My earliest memory of a film would be Steven Spielberg's E.T. This is, like I said, my earliest memory of watching a film. There's other films that I remember. Like, I remember watching Star Trek and the Star Wars movies. But for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was born in 83. E.T. came out in 82. I probably watched it around 3 or 4. I was very, very young, but I have a vivid memory of us watching E.T. on VHS. That my uncle, it wasn't my uncle, but it was a very, very, very close family friend. He would come round all the time, and he would bring videos of stuff that he just picked up. So like E.T. and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, he brought around. We watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids when we were... I must have been 7 or 8, because that came out in, what, 1989? So, again, not just my parents, but Barry, my family, my mum and dad's best friend, would just come over. He used to take my brother to the cinema to watch movies. He used to take me to the cinema to watch movies when I was a kid, or when I was in my teens as well. So we'd go and see things like Serenity, and we went to see Deep Impact. Like, my parents didn't take me. Barry took us because he was the cinema guy. He was the guy who had like all the VHS movies. So we'd go to his house and he'd have like Lethal Weapon and like Alien and stuff like that. And I remember when they lived before they moved out a bit further out of Cardiff, or a bit further into Cardiff, into the nice area. They used to live in a street which was just around the corner from us, and my mum used to go around and clean for them, just to help out, because Barry was running a business with his wife Carol, which was a stationery business, and we lived on one street, and then the next street over was Barry and Carol. My dad was working as a sales rep for a car parts company called Lucas. I don't even think they exist anymore. And my mum was a little bit between jobs. She used to work, she worked in like a delicatessen, and then she worked, where else did she work? I can't remember. But this was before she got her last job, which was working for the Automobile Association as a customer service advisor, I guess you could say. But she would go around, and Barry would help her out by allowing her to clean the house or clean the kitchen and stuff like that. And she'd take us around there. And I remember the first time I ever saw Grease 2 was around Barry's. And that was a film that always stuck with me. Grease 2. Why Grease 2? Not Grease 1. I'm not even a fan of Grease 1, but I absolutely adore Grease 2. I don't know why. I think the songs are better, I guess. The story's definitely not better because it's a absolute mess of a film. But there's something slightly more endearing about Grease 2 than there is about the first Grease. I think the first Grease, obviously being based on a stage show and being far more polished than the first Grease movie, I don't know, I think it just stuck with me. And it's a film that I've loved for years and years and years. In fact, on one of my websites, I have 2 websites, by the way. My main one, which is cineapocalypse.com, and my newer one, which I decided to which I decided to create, simply because I found that on the one site I was stuck to a particular formula that I was using to get was it clicks, I guess, people getting readers and stuff. So I was sticking to a particular formula, and I was mainly reviewing like genre films like action movies and anime and stuff like that. So I set up the second blog, which is called Bad Movie Beatdown, for the reason that I could basically just write and write and write and write with no restrictions as to why, as to what I could write. So I wrote a very lengthy review of Grease 2. It was work of art or work of arse. Grease 2, work of art or work of arse. Where, yeah, I mean, it's like 5 pages long where I just completely destroyed the film and then right at the end said how much I absolutely adored it. But it was around Barry and Carol's house that I watched Grease 2 for the first time. And again, that's like a cinema memory that I'm always going to have. I'm never going to forget. Same as watching E.T. That's a memory that I'm never, ever going to forget. I remember sitting down and watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind for the first time with my dad. And my mind was completely blown because I'd never seen anything like it. So there's these memories that I have of watching films for the first time that I can never get again. But they are films that are timeless, and that every time I watch them there's that shot of nostalgia. It's the same with The Goonies. Basically anything that I watched as a kid and films that I remember. So ever since that first time that I watched E.T., I've been fascinated with cinema. I know everybody sees these people talk about their love of film and how they watched Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy for the first time and went, I want to be a filmmaker. I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. It's the one thing that I've always maintained that I wanted to do. It's a bit late for me now. I'm 40. I know some directors didn't start until they were 40, but I've got no way of doing it. I live in Cardiff. There's no way of going to film school now and stuff. And I couldn't be bothered with it, to be honest, now, at my age. But filmmaking is always something that has interested me. So, because I couldn't become a filmmaker, I immersed myself in other filmmakers' art. And because of that, my perception of film as an art form just grew and grew and grew and grew. That's why my knowledge is insanely detailed. I'm not saying I'm like a walking encyclopedia. I'm not Quentin Tarantino. But I know my shit. I know my shit. I've spent 40 years basically learning everything that I can about films. Now, I know a lot of people watch this channel and have watched this channel because of the physical media. And I get that. That's something people are interested in. And which is why I posted the video of Does the Movie Matter? Because I did see a lot of these YouTubers who review and look at Blu-rays who just seem to be more interested in the packaging more than the film. So my idea with this channel is to, yes, champion physical media and talk about physical media, but also talk about cinema. Because, like I said in one of the videos, without cinema, these things wouldn't exist. And so we should always focus on the film. I mean, it's nice having the packaging and having all the special features, which, if you are a lover of film, special features are the chef's kiss of a release. The commentaries, documentaries, just everything, like the extra supplements you get in a film, it can enhance your viewing when you're watching a film. So, not talking about that now. I'm talking about cinema. There are memories that I'm going to have from when I was a kid of watching certain films for the first time. There are memories I'm going to have of watching films as an adult for the first time that I'm going to always remember. Like when I went to watch Mad Max Fury Road by myself on an afternoon matinee in an empty cinema with 3D glasses on a day off from work because I had been waiting a very, very long time for a new Mad Max movie. And it was one of the greatest experiences I have ever had at the cinema. I think there were 2 other people in the auditorium when I went to see it. It was slightly ruined by having to wear 3D glasses because it was post-converted, which means that it wasn't shot in 3D. It was converted to 3D when they were doing the post-production. But despite the fact that I did have to wear 3D glasses, and I wear glasses, you can see I wear glasses, so I have to wear glasses on glasses. So despite the fact that I did have to wear glasses, it didn't ruin the experience. In fact, it's one of the best film experiences or cinema experiences I've probably ever had. There are other films that I remember going to see. I remember there was literally, like, where my house is, there's a big shopping street, which is a 2-second walk up my street, and then I'm on it. At the end of that street is a music venue called the Globe. Now, up until I think it was 2001, the Globe was known as the Monroe. Now, the Monroe was a single-screen cinema. It was the only place that I ever watched films. I watched everything in there. I watched Independence Day. I watched Titanic. I watched Jurassic Park. I watched Twister. I watched Lost in Space. I watched Up and Under, a British film about rugby players starring Neil Morrissey and Gary Olsen from 2.4 Children and Samantha Janus. What else did I watch? I watched loads of Disney films. Loads and loads of Disney films. We watched Oliver and Company when I was very, very small. My sister... Now, I don't know if I can remember this. I don't know if it's like an image that I'm creating in my head. But me and my sister, when we were very, very tiny, my dad took us to watch My Little Pony, the movie, with the ooze and all that. It's a film I haven't seen in fucking nearly 35 years, probably. But for some reason, I remember seeing it in a cinema. And I saw it in the Monroe. And the Monroe was a place that I would always go to. It helped that when I was younger, ticket prices were super low, so it was like £1.50 or £2 to go and watch a film. I remember going to see Spice World the movie when I was a teenager. It was awful. I don't know why we went to see it. It was a waste of money, but it's a film that I saw in the cinema. I saw the live action 101 Dalmatians. I saw Mission Impossible 1. What else did I see? There was just so many films that I went to see at the Monroe. And again, that was what it formed my love of cinema. So then I started collecting VHS when I was probably 12, 13. And again, memories of buying your first VHS. I mean, my parents would buy us a video for Easter. So we would be allowed chocolate eggs, and then we can have a film on video. So I remember getting like Batman Forever, and again Independence Day. I remember getting Independence Day, and it was in a blue like case. It wasn't like a see-through one. It was a blue box with the artwork on the inside. And then there was another year. I think I had Starship Troopers. Now, Starship Troopers is a film that I absolutely adore. But I remember getting that when in maybe 1999? I can't remember if it was 99. But then I also remember getting Army of Darkness. The Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness. That was one of the first... I remember Army of Darkness was the first VHS that I ever purchased myself. And then I bought The Lost Boys. But Army of Darkness was the first VHS that I ever purchased for myself. It was the first Evil Dead movie that I saw, which is weird because it was the third one. I had no idea it was the third film in a trilogy. I watched it. I loved it. I then found out that it was the third part. And then I watched Evil Dead 2. And I worked backwards. And Evil Dead 2, I loved it. Again, like Army of Darkness, amazing horror films. Probably in my top 5 horror films of all time. And then I watched The Evil Dead when it was so-called unbanned. And so, cinema, videos, Blu-rays, DVDs, all of these things will basically build your knowledge of cinema and make you love films. Now, me personally, I have a specific type of genre that I love, or I have specific type of genres that I love. And there are genres of cinema that I'm not hugely interested in. And again, people will be like, well, if you love cinema, shouldn't you be open to all cinema? Well, yeah, you should be open to all cinema, but it doesn't mean you're going to enjoy everything. Now, I've got like 9,000 movies, which I have said in the past. And I don't think there's a single film in my collection that I've ever gone, I'm going to buy that even though I have no interest in it. I'm always going to have an interest in a film. Whether or not I watch that film or get round to watching that film is a different story. Sorry, I need a drink. So I like things like action cinema and science fiction and horror and comedy. I'm not massively into dramas, unless it's like something like Shawshank or Forrest Gump, like the big studio type of dramas. I like certain world cinema films. I love Japanese cinema. I love Korean cinema. I'm not very interested in Middle Eastern or Indian cinema. I don't know why. It's just never really appealed to me. There's European cinema, so stuff from Norway and Sweden and Finland and places like that. There's Irish cinema. The Banshees of Inisherin was fantastic. Again, The Crying Game, I think you could really class that as Irish cinema. Another fantastic movie. The Wind That Shakes the Barley, fantastic film. But there's stuff that is out in the world that just doesn't appeal to me. Like, I'm not into political movies. I'm not into agenda movies. I have no interest. I know, and it sounds bad, but I have no interest in seeing the plight of a certain country's people being put on film. Like, for me, cinema is there to entertain. It's to take me out of the shit life that we all live. Unless you're Jeff Bezos, who has multi-billions of dollars. Like, let's face it, everything is shit. It's shit. We have to work 9 to 5, or we have to work whatever shifts that we're given. Paycheck to paycheck. Like, so, film, for me, is my fantasy world. It's like, I want to live in Star Wars. I want to live in Dawn of the Dead. Maybe not Dawn, but I think I'd be pretty cool in a zombie apocalypse. I'd throw DVDs at them. Be like Shaun of the Dead, but with DVDs instead of records. So yeah, it's an escape. It's an escape from the fucked up shit that we got to put up with every day in the news. Like, there's a war in the Ukraine. Fucking North Korea's being a twat again. The shit that's going on in Palestine and between Palestine and Israel. Every day, everything is shit in the real world. So if I'm going to escape, I'm going to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm going to watch Invasion USA. I'm looking up on my DVD shop. I'm going to watch Kill Bill. because they're entertainment. It's entertaining to watch these films because it's escapist. And I think, for me as a child, watching movies was an escape from a lot of shit that happened to me as a child. I didn't have a shit life. I had a fantastic life. My parents were great until they split. My parents were great up until my mum died. My dad's still alive. I got horrendously bullied when I was a child. Like very, very badly bullied. And it fucked me up for a long time. So movies was my escape. I remember coming home from some like very, very small junior school, I guess it would be. And we had a VHS tape that was being recorded from TV. And I would, like, the main film on it would have been, was Teen Wolf. So I watched Teen Wolf over and over and over and over and over again. But at the end of Teen Wolf, because it was taped off the television, there would be like the end of the previous film that was recorded on there. And the film that was, the film that Teen Wolf recorded over was a Tom Hanks film called Volunteers. And it was only like the last 20 minutes of Volunteers where he like has to cross a bridge. And there's people like soldiers after him and stuff like that. I've never seen all of Volunteers. I've only ever seen that last 20 minutes. But I've seen that last 20 minutes like 100 fucking times. So there's like this, again, kind of nostalgic and a little bit emotional, I guess, because I'm never going to have that again. I'm never going to have that feeling of going home from school and watching the same film over and over again, but only the last 20 minutes of it. Oh, by the way, I fucking love Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf 2 pretty fun as well. So there are, I think, these memories that I have from when I was a child of watching these, all these movies. Like one I watched recently, there's a film that I love. I remember watching this as a kid with my mum. It's Overboard. Overboard's fantastic. Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell. It's a fantastic film. I watched this recently. And again, it was another film that I started watching, and the nostalgia of when I watched it as a kid like basically came back. So there are films that I'll watch over and over again that I watched when I was younger, that they do give me that nostalgia thing. But also, like, you know when people say, oh, I haven't seen that film for a long time, but so I didn't really get the nostalgia for it. But then like something like The Goonies or Richard Donner's Superman movie, like, these are films that I've never stopped watching. So I have the nostalgia for them as a child, but I also have the love of them as an adult. Like, I watched The Goonies not so long ago, and it still holds up fucking amazing. It's such a fun movie. There's nothing offensive in it. Well, there's a little bit offensive bits in it, but there's nothing massively to be like, oh my god, The Goonies is so bad. There is a girl in it, and she is called a bitch. Like, it's got fucking Samwise Gamgee in it. It's got Thanos in it. It's got, who else is in it? Martha Plimpton's in it. It's a great film. It's such a fun movie as well. It's pure 100% escapist cinema fun. And that's why I love films. Because it can take me out of the shit life that I'm in, or that we're all in, and put me into a life that's just fucking fun. That's just fun. And I think growing up and discovering more and more films that lead on to the discovery of more films, which then leads on to the discovery of more films. You know, one of the best filmmakers to help you discover more films is Quentin Tarantino. He makes references to cinema in every single movie he makes, whether it's Django Unchained. Well, maybe not so many dialogue references, obviously, but more like the name Django for a start. It's the old 1970s Franco Nero Western. That's where he took the name from. So then you think, oh, where'd the name Django come from? I'll look it up. Oh, it's from this 1970s or 1968, I think it was, spaghetti western called Django starring Franco Nero. You check that film out. You enjoy it. So you check out other Franco Nero movies, or you check out other spaghetti westerns, which leads you to The Man with No Name, Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone. Sergio Leone leads you on to Once Upon a Time in the West. Leads you on to Fistful of Dynamite. Then leads you on to Once Upon a Time in America, the greatest gangster film ever made. So that's the power of the love of cinema. I'm going back then. I'm going to go back now to Clint Eastwood. So, The Man with No Name trilogy. Then the Dirty Harry movies, because you want to see where this guy has gone. Then he starts making his own films. He starts directing his own films. So there's films like High Plains Drifter and The Outlaw Josie Wales. And you finally get to Unforgiven, which is quite possibly the greatest ever Western. In my opinion. Obviously, it's an opinion. But then he continues to direct movies. To like Bloodwork and... what's the other one? So Bloodwork, and then he starts winning Oscars left, right and centre with $1 Million Baby and Mystic River. And now he's making a film every 2 years or every year. And the guy's 94, 95 years old and he's still going. It's fucking fantastic. But then you look back at his other films, his older films, the stuff he made in the 70s and the 80s. So you've got the 80s stuff, like Pink Cadillac. You've got the last two Dirty Harry films, or maybe the last one, which is the Deadpool? The Deadpool? Or the Deathpool? Deadpool. But then you got Heartbreak Ridge. And Bronco Billy, City Heat with Burt Reynolds. Like, these movies, this is how you discover cinema, is you find a film, you enjoy that film, and you want to see where these people came from, or what else these people have done. And it leads you down a path of discovery, of cinema, of, like, filmmakers, even of film composers. Like, I wouldn't have known Ennio Morricone if I hadn't have fucking watched Fistful of Dollars. And then you discover more music by them, and their music just transcends cinema because it becomes its own thing. Like, John Williams is my #1 played artist on Spotify. My second most played artist on Spotify is Green Day. So I love film music. I love film music. I'm not massively into like classical music, but modern classical or like cinematic orchestra music is like amazing. And going back to Ennio Morricone, some of his stuff is just goddamn fucking off the scale brilliance. Like the music he did for The Thing, which, even though normally John Carpenter does his own music for The Thing, but it sounds like a John Carpenter score. John Carpenter uses synths, and to make it feel like a John Carpenter movie, Morricone used synths. Music was then repurposed, unused music from The Thing was then repurposed for The Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino's movie. And then you watch something like Brian De Palma's Mission to Mars, which has one of the most beautiful modern cinematic scores you will ever hear. There is a track on the soundtrack called Where, and honest to God, every time I listen to it I get chills. You've got this fantastic music for Once Upon a Time in America, the fantastic music for The Mission, the fantastic music for Cinema Paradiso, everything is just like discovering filmmakers and films and actors and composers, and then you find out about the writers of the film. So a film wouldn't exist without a screenplay, and a screenplay wouldn't exist without a writer. So you discover all these things, you find out, you follow the breadcrumbs, you follow the trail. Go to IMDb and play the click game. So you click on a director, you see what film he's done, you click on the next, you click on the first actor, you see what the film he's done, you click on the writer, you see what the writer's done. That's how you discover cinema. Not necessarily by blind buying all the movies that you can find. I mean, if that's how you want to do it, absolutely fantastic. But discovering films for the first time by just reading about them and thinking, oh, that sounds interesting, I wonder if I can find it. And maybe you might come across a film that you've never seen in a charity shop for 50p. And yes, blind buying can be good, but that is how you discover movies. Now, there's one thing that really always got on my nerves, and does get on my nerves, is when someone says they're a huge movie fan, they're a huge cinephile, their favourite film is Infinity War. You can enjoy Infinity War, absolutely, but don't call yourself a cinephile when your favourite film is Captain America Civil War. No. Name another movie. And I know that might sound elitist, and it is elitist, but when I have a conversation with someone about films, a conversation has got to be two ways. Now, I've got no problem informing someone of films or helping someone discover cinema. One of the guys I know who works for Tesco is a massive cinema lover, absolutely massive cinema lover. In fact, we are trying to come up with an idea for a podcast. The idea was to do like a sort of court case, so for and against, but we're still working the deals out on the ideas out on that. And I have been sort of giving him information that he didn't know. And he was massively grateful. And I said, you could just look it up. I mean, that's what I did. That's how I know everything. I say know everything. That's how I know so much. It's because I just look it up. I read about films. I read about movies. I have movie books. I have, what is it? I have film guides. I have like the Taschen books on cinema. I've got a gigantic book that's like this thick, right? This thick. It's a big red book, and it's all about The Simpsons, and it's every episode of The Simpsons, and I can remember all of it. So, people read books. People love to read books. That's how they get their entertainment. I would rather sit and watch a 2-hour version of the book than sit there and get blurry-eyed, because my eyesight's terrible, from reading a book. I can read. I have no problem reading a book. But I don't generally have the time. I can just sit down and watch a film, and it's done. I can't invest 2 days in reading one story. I know that sounds stupid, and that's how most films are made. They're adapted from books, and how are you not going to know the story unless you read the book? Well, that's what the film's for. So this is a long video. This is nearly 40 minutes. And I wasn't planning on doing a video tonight, and I wasn't planning on doing a video this long. But I was just thinking of why I love movies, and where my love of movies came from, why it's all I think about, why it's all I talk about, and why I don't think enough people really appreciate cinema for what it is, And I think that's a bad thing, and I don't think it's helping that the big studios are churning out turd after turd after turd. Star Wars has gone down the shitter, Marvel's gone down the shitter. The only thing Universal has is the Fast and the Furious movies, and they're going down the shitter. Warner Brothers don't know what the fuck they're doing with DC. The only other franchise they've got is Harry Potter, which they're rebooting for some stupid reason. Nobody is releasing good genre films at a low budget anymore. You have to go to the straight to DVD land, the straight to on demand, the straight to Netflix, and even then, most of them are shit. But like, we don't have those mid-budget movies anymore, and if we do, they're just classed as art house. Like, remember when a film cost $55 million to make and it made $400 million at the box office, and that was a fucking smash? Now, unless you make a billion, you're a failure. And I think that is where cinema is heading. And unless it changes, we're going to see shit after shit after shit. I mean, when was the last... 2019 was the last time a Star Wars movie came out. 5 years ago. They have announced multiple movies and cancelled multiple movies. Now, my idea, if I ran Lucasfilm, was to just not fucking tell anyone that I'm making a Star Wars movie. And also let the people who you hire make the fucking movie the way they want to. Hire fans. Hire filmmakers who are fans of the series. Hire them. They know what the fuck they're doing. Just look what Jon Favreau did with The Mandalorian. Look what... I mean, Mandalorian Season 3 went down the shitter, but... like, give it to the people who care about the product. Don't try and insert your agenda into something that was created to embrace everyone. But I get slightly disillusioned with films, well, cinema these days. Most films that come out aren't worth time or money. Why go and watch a £350 million or dollar CGI spectacle with very little in the way of plot, when you could go to HMV and for the same price as a movie ticket in the big stores, well, the big cinemas, it's the same price as a movie ticket, you could pick up the fucking Goonies on 4K in a 2 for £30 or 2 for £25 offer. You might as well fucking do that. TVs are better than cinema screens these days. You've got a 4K TV at home, fucking do that. And I'm not saying don't go to the cinema. What I'm saying is that the people who make cinema need to start thinking more about content than profit. Because that's what's ruining it. So, that's my story of how I became such a massive movie nerd. And my memories of watching films for the first time, like E.T. and Close Encounters and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and watching Mad Max Fury Road for the first time by myself in a cinema. These are memories that I'm always going to have. These are memories on my cinematic journey, as one would say. So I've waffled for 45 minutes, and I hope you've stuck with it. I also want to just say that, yes, last year was shit. I had things happen to me that were personal, that I've mentioned. 2024 is going to be fucking awful as well, considering what I have to go through next. But In the 2 months since I posted my first proper, I'd say, viral video, you guys have been fucking awesome. Seriously. Every video is hitting over 1,000 views. I never ever thought I'd ever hit over 1,000 views on anything that I posted. I'm 41 subscribers away from 1,000. When I posted the sad reality of a physical media collector, I had 106, like, fucking 106 subscribers. I've gone up nearly 900 subscribers in 2 months. And I don't know why you keep coming back, because all I do is waffle on about movies, and it must get boring. So I want to thank every single one of you. Everyone who's commented. Like, there was a comment I read today where it said, I always look forward to your rambling videos. That's so awesome that there are people who are watching me just stand in my bedroom. And it is my bedroom. It's my bedroom. It's not even very big. I will show you. This is my bedroom. So, behind me, I'm going to just sort this out a sec, are my DVDs. Yes, I've got a spot on my head. So, this is how big my room is. Right. So, this is where I shoot the videos. There is my TV behind me with them. There is my wall. There is my window. There is my hallway. So if I stand here, I'm going to flip the camera. I will show you. And I will zoom out. So this is where I currently spend all my time. Which is going to change. It's going to have to change soon. And maybe it's for the better. Maybe it's for the better. Who knows? So, I just want to say thank you to every single one of you who comes and watches me waffle, who enjoys my waffling, and just there's a lot of you are fucking awesome, and I never thought I would have some sort of film community on YouTube, and I would love to reply to every single comment, but I have a full-time job. It's a hard job, and I just don't have the time. But when I do have the time, I will try and reply to as many comments as possible. And yeah, so this is a long one. It's 4 AM. In fact, it's 3:58. I'm going to go to sleep. Actually, I'm going to have a cigarette, and then I'm going to go to sleep. But as usual, peace. I'm out.